that really needs to be advocated for and create more awareness.
Thank you. Just to add to what she said, I think one of the elements is the lack of awareness, lack of information. Then also we see there's also lack of coordination, or also the issue of competition. You will find different organizations they be having a very profitable project, but you don't want to share that best practice with another organization because you think they are going to see they're going to take that particular element from you. So that is one element that is happening out. The issue of coordination. All of us in this room, we have very, very good ideas, but you will find because there is no coordination as such in our different areas where we are working, we tend to actually even like duplicate or double the activities. They go to the same donors, for example, to seek for funding, the same project, but nobody knows what the other person is doing. So I guess if there was coordination, then we would be in a better position. And then finally, I think there's also a bit of not lack of resources, but not using the resources, as it would be, not in a very, I don't know how to put it, but like we don't use the resources effectively. Yeah. So the issue of coordination and lack of information.
Interesting conversation that we're having here on inclusive governance and climate action. Climate action is a concern to many countries in Africa. I'd like to give us 2 pointers on what Kenya has done so far for the strides of climate action. So for one, Kenya has committed to reducing carbon emissions by 32% by the time we get to 2030. And that aside, Kenya has also committed to increase forest coverage to more than 30% by 2032 and growing 5 billion trees in the next 5 years. So this brings me to my next question. Kenya will be hosting the African Climate Summit in a week, very well, right? And it's going to bring together different countries of Africa that will be participating in this summit. In your own perspective, what are some of the pointers you think should be on the forefront of our discussion during this summit? And how far is too far to us achieving what we want into our climate action plans?
Well, thank you for that question. I think for me, one of the things that is coming out is the willingness, of the country to work with the stakeholders to see how else we can work together to address climate action, because the information is out there, but I think the element is the buy-in from different partners, the willingness of different stakeholders to own their different elements of where they can support in. So for me, I think the political will and also the will of the citizens to be able to embrace or
should come out in the conversation. Okay, let's go. So for that conference, I would expect to see action more than talks. We have been talking for too long, and 2030 is just around the corner. I would start by saying all the delegates that will be going to that conference must not bring a plastic toothbrush. We will collect all the toothbrushes, and we must use bamboo tree-made toothbrushes. I'll wait for Fred to finish. Sorry for that. Yes, please. All right. And secondly, hopefully it will be a paperless conference, so they will not be using pens use of plastic. They will not be printing any paper. They will not be exchanging business cards. There will be just a QR code with just scan. There will be no business cards exchanged. Thank you. And Mary, I am informed you had a presentation prepared for us on the same. Are you comfortable to have the presentation now before we go on? Okay, please.
Okay, thank you. I've already introduced myself. You can move to the next one, thank you. I'm not going to speak on inclusiveness because those points, a lot of people that spoke before me have mentioned that. You can move to the next one. All right, so just go back to the other slide. That one. Part of what we say about inclusive is that we work with everybody. Remember, I said we identify challenges in the community and we create a project around it. And one of the projects that we do, we work with the government. You can see there's a nursing sister with a equipment station. And she's from the local clinic. We were at a school there where we were doing sexual and reproductive health education, and we were distributing sanitary pads and toiletry dignity packs for the girls at the school. So you can see that the inclusiveness is that we work with the government institution because the clinic is a government institution, the school is a government institution, we are a civil society, and we work with the women in the community that come and assist us to pack all the stuff that we give the learners at school. We work with the shops around, out to the shops, request to donate. So if this one donates face cloth, the other one will donate toothpaste, and somebody else will donate bath soaps and so forth and so forth. Thank you. Okay, so this is a question I ask all the time. Like, is there something that is only taught to other communities in terms of environmental protection and climate change that is not taught to the other? And in this case, I'm speaking about us as Africans. I'm not sure where we went wrong or what happened. We do not seem to be very big on this topic of climate change. We are big on it when we come together like this and we speak about it and there are conferences, but we want the minute we walk out the door, we have forgotten what we learned and there's very little action that we are taking. However, when climate change disaster hits, it affects everybody. And this is real, actual pictures that we took in KwaZulu-Natal in Durban when we had floods late last year or earlier this year. I don't remember which. We had August, so it was early this year. We had floods in Durban. And look at the picture on my left. That was from a very affluent suburb. And if you look at the other picture, it was in the rural area. So it hits everybody the same. Nobody is excluded from the disaster. Aha, there are your toothbrushes. I come from a country of 60 million plus people. Now imagine every 3 months we change toothbrushes. Think about a pile of 60,000 plastic toothbrush. Where do they end up? Think about bread that we buy all the time. It comes in a plastic wrap. Think about sweet candy, whatever language you call it, where you call out the word where you come from. Think about, it's easy to say, oh, I'll bring a candy for a child. There are sweets on the table. Those sweets come in a plastic wrap. Those sweets have got a stick. Where does that stick end up? When the child finishes eating the sweet, where does the stick go? Think about your tea bag. We love our tea. Yes, the tea bag is biodegradable, but some of them are not. The string, is there really a need for the string on the tea bag? Okay, so we really need to be mindful of our actions when we buy and whatever we do, just think about what you're doing. So the 5 R's of waste management, we say refuse what you do not need. Refuse to buy a sweet with a sweet wrapper that does not dissolve, because you are saying, I do not want to contribute to the environment, harming the environment. Reduce the use of non-biodegradable material that you buy or that you use. Reuse what you can. I love the glass bottle issue, that we drink out of the glass bottle. It is recyclable, but also it can be reused. We just refill the bottles. Recycle. This helps with saving the landfill site space and cut out the potent gases. Think about the landfill sites where all the, Some people say their areas are clean because there comes a municipal truck to collect all the trash bins and it gets dumped somewhere. Think about the landfill sites. There's no space. We're running out of land. I think my dear Southern African friend here spoke about inclusive land land on. Think about the land that we run out of because the landfill sites are full. And the potent gases that come from there, they're not healthy for any of us. Okay, and then we say, just rot the rest. We peel potatoes, we cook every day. Look at the picture there. We cook every day. What do we do with all this leftover food and all the vegetables that we peel? Just create a compost. That helps to make the soil healthy and you have your lovely organic vegetables or plants, whatever you plant. So it is important that we recycle. Let us be conscious. And it's things that we can do small steps. Do it from home. Start at home, in your own little corner. It does not have to be something that is, the government comes with a big policy and somebody is policing you that you do it. If you start small, do it in your own little space. I'm telling you, we will be able to make a difference. We will have measurable impact that we can see that we are doing. I'd like to just to the next slide. I don't think I included that, but what I want to talk about also is that, okay. I did not include it, but I wanted to say we need to start teaching very small. I know we talk about, for instance, we've got early childhood development where we say we teach children to read, and then at the stage we teach children to respect, we teach children not to steal, respect other people's things. Why don't we include environment awareness in those education? Why don't we educate children that you don't have to chop down the tree to try and replant it again and say, now we're greening the environment? Why is the government making pavement everywhere? In our own yards, we remove grass and put pavement everywhere. And then before we know it, we say, oh, but we need some green here. It's not lovely. Then we take out half of the pavement and put on grass. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary, for those powerful insights. Of course, based on our conversation on inclusive governance and climate action brought to you, how do we bring in the retired? We call them the retired but not tired, because remember, it's all about inclusivity, right? And we are here to take steps into climate action. So how do we bring in the retired group into this?
Thank you very much for that. I think I want to reference that with what the UN volunteer program is doing currently. One of the modalities that we have is actually an expert modality, where we have candidates or persons that are over 35 years of age with 15 years of experience that we're giving them an opportunity to come back into the program to help actually mentor and coach the youth that are coming up. So one of the ways that the UN program is doing is to make sure that we handle this modality to give room for that senior citizen, so to speak, to be given a space to come and provide that experience service to the upcoming youth.
Okay, that's interesting. Do you have any items to listen?
Thank you. So what I just want to add on is that, a person can retire, they can be 80 years old, I know you spoke about retirement, they can be 80 years old, but they still have got something to contribute. Just an input, just to sit and have a cup of coffee with someone and just catch up. It does not have to be necessarily on a particular topic, you just talk about life. You would be surprised when you go and have a conversation with people that we say they're not civilized, they come from the rural areas. Those old people that sit under a tree, the big ones. There's a lot of wisdom that comes from there. And a lot of things that we are doing, we actually go back to the way they used to do things. So yes, we can learn from it.
Absolutely, thank you. From the presentation that Mary just gave us here, we had some of the examples of how we can participate in climate action. I need one or two people who understood. Give us an example of how you can participate into climate action. Anybody with an answer? Very quickly, thank you. I need a microphone there.
Thank you so much. My name is Sekamana Ashmele. I'm the Executive Director of Rwanda Volunteer Network, and I come from Rwanda. So I wanted to share with you, it's just an add-on on what you have done, how governance and climate action goes together. So, for instance, when our government and the public administration started banning plastic bags, most of us adult people were not just getting it very well because we didn't have. We grew up used to use plastic bags, and we couldn't understand. These people are making tough decisions. Where we will be taking our food and our stuffs. So when the government started that program, most of the people most of adult people, of course, they were not just getting it on what we are doing. So as the government pushed till the government started involving corporate companies and private sector and civil society organizations, including us as a Rwanda Volunteer Network. So then the government found itself not able to do it on its own. That's when we started a program which is run by the government currently, Rwanda Youth Volunteers in Community Policing. So those young people started sensitizing we have them in every cell. A cell is a public administration entity, the lowest we can have. Others, like in Uganda, they have what they call SC1. So we have some young people there who started mobilizing people, showing them the importance of not having plastic bags. Most of you always say Kigali is clean city. So try to ban plastic bag in your LC1 or in your cell. You will see how clean it will become automatically. Try just in 10 houses, it will become clean automatically. So then the government took also other actions further. So by creating what we call green fund. So where civil society organizations can access funds to help in some of climate actions they have within their programs. So how can we participate? It starts by where you are, in your office, in your home. So if, for instance, someone comes to my home, I say, no, you are not allowed to throw this plastic bag at my house, at my compound. Go and throw it elsewhere. We'll take that message. Yeah. It's very simple. Sometimes we would like to fix so much bigger things. So the government has gone further. Then they started moving people living at the shores of the lakes and rivers. They asked them, you should move at least 50 meters from the shores of the lakes. Or for the lakes, it was 100 meters from the shores. For the rivers, 50 meters. People start, this is dictatorship, is now killing us. They are destroying our houses, they are destroying our farms. But now, young people, like if you find a kid of 15 years, when maybe I have kids, sometimes when I take them to a vacation somewhere outside of, the first thing I remember, 2016, I took them to a trip to Uganda. When they saw a plastic bags, they said, what? What are we seeing here? Where do they get all of those things? So we as adult people, changing our mindset is very difficult, but if we teach our children, our continent, our globe will be better. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We should be winding up the session, but I will take two more, and have a lady and a gent, because we should be having our breakout sessions after this.
Thank you very much. I think one thing that always worries me about climate change is
It's only very much discussed in very high forums. They go to expensive hotels, they write beautiful policies, beautiful papers, but how much of it trickles down to the man in the village who's growing your coffee, who's growing your rice, who gets affected when it doesn't rain, who doesn't even know what is the impact of them making charcoal from the wood that they already have. So what we end up with are beautifully structured documents which do not make sense to the actual people who are supposed to have them. I come from Zimbabwe. We have 4 basic seasons, but the seasons have shifted. Growing up, we used to know that by November, we get the November rain, we prepare the land, and then we grow the crops we harvest in April. But now rain comes in January. So what happens? My old grandfather still prepares land in October, and he plants in November, but it doesn't rain, so all these crops go to waste. And by January, when the rain comes, he has nothing else to plant because he already planted the seed way before. So what are we saying about climate change? Is the message going to the actual person? And if you look at the documentation, the technologies that are used, they are not even friendly. You can't even get my own grandmother in the village to understand exactly what you're talking about. So I think it's high time maybe like what you are saying. And for us all here, let's try to mainstream issues of climate change in all our programs. That's like what we do on Charles Study. And let's bring down the language to what our folks can understand. Because it's not rocket science. To tell someone, don't throw things on the floor. Always find someone to put the plastic bags or how to dispose of it. But tell them in a language they understand. Remember, these guys have been keeping their homes clean long before we were born. So it's something that they can do, but give them the information, empower them in a language that they understand. Otherwise, we are only going to end up with conferences in Geneva, conferences in the US, Washington, D.C., green what, green color, green hub, green this, green that. But look at the people who are at this conference, the same people, UN, this, UN that, UN that, and I think that is right there in the village. Or do you want to accept that will not generate because of climate change? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just one last thing, I'm very sorry, it's an interesting conversation, but however, we're really running out of time. I'll just take one more question, and then we'll have closing remarks from our speakers.
Thank you. My question is relatable to government. And when we are talking about inclusive governance and what action governments are taking, and specifically on carbon footprint, most governments are pushing for green environment, green. Yes, but you find that the same governments are actually emitting more carbon footprint. For example, when you look at our ministers and the number of cars that they move around with, that is fossil fuel. And they are still talking about reducing carbon footprint. So how do we make our governments understand that the bank does not really just stop with them, but it actually starts with them?
Wow, very tough question. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. I will have Madam Anne, will you take that question? And then please have your closing remarks as well to answer the question.
Thank you very much. I think the question is difficult for me to answer, actually, respond to. But again, when we all look at ourselves, we all have a responsibility. You know, the responsibility is that from us. We are the only ones who can make change to the current climate challenges we are having. Because it's like we are saying one thing, but we are all doing something totally different from, from what we're saying. So I think one of the elements is the responsibility actually lies with us. We can make the changes with us. So we need to start, making those positive changes. I think for me, in terms of my parting shot, is that for me, innovation is coming very, very clearly in terms of we have people with very great ideas. We have innovative ways of addressing the climate challenges. There's very good ways we can manage waste, through recycling, creating employment, sustain livelihoods, through these initiatives. What I want to urge all of us is we must continue to push our government, we must continue to push our partners, we must continue to even push our own citizens that if we want to change our world and where we live, then we all have to take our responsibilities seriously, and then we have to partner. There is no way we will achieve all this if we are working in silos, if we are all pushing our own agendas. So we need to work together, we need to complement each other for us to achieve a better world. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's have a parting shot from Mary as well.
Thank you very much. So 2 points I want to mention before the closing remark for me is about the driving. I know that we're looking at the government and we say the ministers are driving big vehicles and one minister has got a whole 6-7 cars that driving around. But let's forget ourselves. We leave home, I drive, my husband drives, my 2 children drives. Why don't we use 1 or 2 cars? We go to work in the same place, we live around the same area. Why not create lift trucks so that we reduce the number of vehicles on the road? So really, we say every good deed starts with you. What starts with me, rather. So before we look at somebody else, before we start saying, oh, but the government is bigger than us, let's start where we can with what we can do. The second one that is very, very inclusive for me, and I loved it 2015 when I went to Rwanda. It was the weekend of Uganda, we were there. And everybody, we were visitors in the country, but we went to join in to clean the streets of Rwanda. People had overalls on, people had tools, we were guests sitting in the hotel, and we were told, from this hour to that hour, make sure that you get your breakfast or you get whatever you need because there will be no one to help you. You're welcome, the hotel will close. For those that want to join, you're welcome to come and join in. And we did that. For me, that is very, very inclusiveness. My parting shot is that it starts with me, not with somebody else, it starts with me, in my own house, in my own little short space. When we go back, think about many years ago, our old people never used to generate so much trash. So it's a trash we're generating in our own house for convenience. Cook at home, stop buying takeaways because they give you polystyrene takeaway containers. Where do they go? Thank you.
I have a voice for my amazing panelists. It starts with me. Take action from where you live, with your friends, with your family. Every little contribution matters. If you do the right thing, I do the right thing, collectively we make a difference. This has been our time. I hope you have enjoyed our session. It was very brief, but we will keep it 100 on our social media platforms. A round of applause for my panelists as they lead the panel. Everybody, let's have a Victorian session for them before they. If anybody who would like to join our panelists, you're very welcome.